Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Ace, coming to you from Vancouver Island in Western Canada. I'm a rapper, artist, just regular guy. You can find me on Spotify, anywhere you stream music, if you're so interested to find out. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, you can do that as well. All right, Canada's response to Mr. Trump, his tariffs that have come into effect, that, there's a saying, in a trade war, nobody wins. Like, especially in this current economic market, these tariffs going back and forth on each side, Canada's announced the retaliatory tariffs matching what Trump, the 25% tariff, and they're giving them a grace period. I expect Trump to go back and then, pretend like he's the winner in the whole thing, but that's kind of like a Trump classic playbook. He like creates a crisis or does something that creates a crisis, then he can come in and pretend to be the great negotiator and then take credit for like this big win, even though he created the crisis in the first place. Sometimes I think in his mind he uses it as a bargaining chip and a way to gain strategic advantages when it comes to negotiations, which is classic Trumpism. Hey, Trudeau slams Trump for starting trade war with Canada, announces retaliatory tariffs. I see Doug Ford has announced, they scrapped contracts with Starlink. Chrystia Freeland has said there was a potential for 100% tariff on Teslas coming into Canada. All right, let's just get to the video.
Canada and China quickly announced retaliatory tariffs after a 25% tax on imports from Canada and Mexico, plus an additional 10% from China, all went into effect. Mexico's president says countermeasures could come by Sunday. Canada's prime minister also said that the move to impose tariffs will hurt all countries involved, including the U.S.
It's going to drive up prices. Americans are probably going to be unhappy with that. But you get what you vote for, I guess.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff reports.
Americans will be paying more for groceries, for gas, for cars, for homes.
A warning Tuesday from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to Americans, saying President Trump's 25% tariffs now in effect will mean higher prices for all.
Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight.
Canada retaliating with its own 25% tariffs, with more to come in 21 days. Mexico's...
I'm no Trudeau fan in the classic sense or anything, but I did find from the sound bites I've heard from his speech, gave a pretty decent speech. Didn't mind it.
President doing the same, announcing retaliatory tariffs coming Sunday.
I think what the president's trying to achieve here, particularly with Canada and Mexico, is shutting down the fentanyl traffic. I think that the tariffs are, in my view...
This fentanyl traffic thing is ridiculous. I don't think there's such a small amount of fentanyl coming from Canada. To say that this entire tariff issue is reliant upon, Trump's issue is Canada supposedly allowing all this fentanyl to get into the States. I don't see how the tariffs, coming back with vindictive tariffs, I don't know how that really solves the problem, but...
a means to an end, not the end itself, and hopefully it's something that can be temporary in nature.
Still, the president says he's planning for more, threatening reciprocal tariffs on major trading partners starting next month.
Reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd.
Plus, China, slapped with an additional 10% tariff, announced its own retaliatory tariffs on U.S. agricultural imports, and finally a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization. The escalating trade war sending U.S. stocks plunging, as Ontario Premier Doug Ford says he's prepared to cut off electricity exports to the U.S.
The market is going to go downhill faster than the American bobsled team. This is unnecessary, and we do have to retaliate. And I apologize to the American people. It's not you. It's your president that's causing this problem.
And tonight we are expecting the economy to be a major focus at President Trump's joint address to Congress. At the White House, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
All right, so it was a short clip. Maybe we can take a look. Oh, apparently Trudeau and Trump have held a phone call over the trade war. Let's just see this news story.
Meantime, we've got some breaking news on the tariff front. I mean, the news doesn't...
This is kind of what I was expecting, that it was going to be very quick, that Trump and Trudeau would, get on the phone and start figuring out where they're going to meet. The question is, what concessions will the Canadians have to make, I suppose?
Stop these days. Fast and furious. CTV can confirm that there has been a call now between our Prime Minister and Donald Trump. Let's bring in CTV's Mike Lecouture, who's standing by in Ottawa with
we probably don't know anything
Mike,
yet.
what do we know here?
Yeah, we know the call just wrapped up a few moments ago.
The guy reminds me of Tom
President
Green.
Donald Trump and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. On the Canadian side, we're not exactly sure who was on the call with the Prime Minister, but we do know that J.D. Vance, the Vice President, and Howard Lutnick, who is, of course, the Commerce Secretary, on the call for the U.S. side. Tariffs, obviously, at the heart of the matter here, Todd. They are trying to find a way forward, the Canadian side is, to make sure that they can get to some place where either the tariffs are lifted or lowered or something of the sort. We know how much Prime Minister Justin Trudeau sent that message directly to not only Americans, but to U.S. President Donald Trump yesterday, saying that this is a bad move and this will hurt people on both sides of the border. Also, earlier today, there have been a number of media appearances by Howard Lutnick, that Commerce Secretary, talking to different media
I think he's been buttering up the media for something, for a resolution, potentially.
Organizations saying that maybe a negotiation could happen where the tariffs would be lessened on certain products, perhaps some carve-outs here and there. It's interesting, Todd, because we've also heard from Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who said, no, it's all or nothing. This is not going to be that type of negotiation. We are still talking to our sources to try and figure out more details about that call and exactly either who was on it for the Canadian side or the tone and tenor of it, to see exactly if there is a path forward here between the two sides. We know from the past that Donald Trump and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau have been able to get to a deal on a number of things. You think about CUSMA, the new NAFTA, and working things forward. And the Prime Minister has always talked about how the two leaders have been able to get big things done, as he puts it, and really sort of playing to Donald Trump in that way and explaining how they have been able to benefit people on both sides of the border, both populations.
All right, so it seems like this story, they don't really have anything on it. They're just talking about...
So you'd have to think that that was part of the conversation as well. It'd be interesting.
They're just breaking the news story that Trump and Trudeau have spoken. Yet we don't know any of the details of the call. Like you said, we don't know the tone or tenor, who was on the call, what details were discussed. It's interesting. We'll keep an eye on it, see what happens. It's an interesting time in the world. Lots of things shaking out, and we get to be a witness of it. 2025, baby. All right, see you soon.